Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Elchea. So in last video we saw that Sora asking Miko what the love is, to which Miko replied that she doesn't know herself. Then the plum uses the love plugging magic on Sora and Miko, in which Miko finally experiences herself what the love is in her own way, and she later tells Sora that Hasuna Ino has around 30 wives. So let's start the chapter number 6. Before we start the chapter, please like my video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. So let's get into the part 6. Elchea's King's City, the King's bedroom. Steph was greatly enjoying the comfortable sleep she had long been missing. She wandered about in her dream. Old man, hear me when I say this. I damn you to hell. Suddenly, the sounds of explosions shook the city, and furthermore, muffled explosions roared through. Steph rolled off the bed. What happened? Steph cried out in the pain, for she had just bumped her head. But once she realized what she had just heard, the sound she had just made was more of a scream. She even forgot that she was still in her pajamas. She lifted her quilt and immediately ran towards the direction of the sound, which was the direction of the main conference room. She practically flew out of the room right on clue. It looked as if the door to the main conference room had been kicked down. What Steph, who was frantically rushing over, saw was the cause of the earlier explosion should be. No, it definitely was none other than Jibril. Perhaps it was because of the sound of the explosion. How did this horror came about? Hasuna Hino, who was substituting for Steph in a game, and his opponent, who was probably one of the feudal lords, were there. Their cards were fluttering in the air with a large number of documents. Smoke filled the main conference room, and one of the walls was utterly destroyed. The source which caused this heaven and earth surprise seemed to have noticed Steph. Yeah, Doracha, hi. Master commanded for this space to be transferred right into Elchea, but because there were too many people, I had to open the slightly larger hole in the space. Are you okay? Actually, I might not be okay, but compared to this, Steph suddenly started tearing up as she stared on. The smoke was torn through with a great momentum. Sora closed in onto the Eno with a ground-piercing passes and began to yell at him. Defendant Hasuna Ino, not only are you a Raiju, but you even taken more than a single maiden as your wife. I have simply tried this great sin through my brain, and based on my prejudiced decision alone, your verdict is fully and absolutely guilty, and you are now henceforth sentenced to death by the laws of the galaxy. I will now obliterate you into the dust of the universe. Gah! Sora don't know. The mass of what I have to say is just piled up all the way up to the sky. When faced with the king who had just returned after roaming for around half a month and came back as a mad king, Ino looked like he was suppressing the fire of his anger, but Izuna unexpectedly appeared from behind Sora's back. Her words made Ino immediately freeze in his place. Grandpa, are you a sex carving monster? Das? He? Izuna? Where did you learn such words? Conversely, as she may not have understood the meaning of her words, Izuna tilted her head to the side and widened her eyes. That's how Sora calls Grandpa this. Oh, you damn monkey! Not only had you thrown the mountain of work onto the others, you even instilled strange vocabulary onto my granddaughter. Ino could not help but reveal his true nature and broke the table with an angry roar. But Sora was literally looking up towards the sky and waved his hand, then pointed on to the Ino's face. Look Izuna, this is the face of the great sinner whose immoral thoughts have been exposed. Ugly, isn't it? Izuna had a look of defeat on her face. Grandpa, quit making scene, this. What? No, it's not like that, Izuna. Grandpa is honestly in love with these girls. Shut up. You low-bodied slave. Don't make excuses and just get ready to die. Noisy, Shiro said while being carried on the Sora's back. Holding his neck with her arms, the then noisy Sora was subtly forced to shut his mouth. And then When the smoke began to disperse, ha ha ha, it surely is a discuss every time. With a voice like a ringing of bells, her footsteps were heard as she stepped on the floor. A golden fox had appeared. Wow, Miko-sama! Seeing her figure, Ino instantly lay prostrate to greet her. Miko said, Hasuna Ino, we are now to have everyone together and advance to Oceando. With her crisp and pleasant voice, she continued on. On the way there, please take your time to elaborate on your romantic nature. I take it there are no issues. Miko-sama? Even Miko-sama is looking at me like that? Ignoring that Ino was about to wet the ground with his tears, Miko chose to lower her voice and repeat herself. Are there no issues? Such a question. Ino raised his head to observe the surrounding. Although he did not fully understood the meaning, he could only give this reply. As you wish. Please leave it to me. Steph could not keep up with what was happening and innocently stood by the front of the door. Hey Steph, you look quite well. We haven't seen each other in 2 weeks, yeah? Sora's tone relaxed when he spoke, maybe because he finally noticed her there. Looking at his face, countless emotions in Steph's chest were like waves surging forth. Anger, blame, accountability, interrogation. But compared to all of those, seeing Sora's face after such a long time, her vision went blur. Many lines she had originally decided to say when she met Sora had already flown beyond the topmost clouds. Steph closed both of her eyes tightly and deliberately did not wipe away the tears emerging in her eyes. She was not thinking about the feeling the tears were streaming from, but just letting her emotions out before she spoke. Oh, Elchea's policies have already been implemented to such a state. Was it under Hasuna Ino's directive? It was Steph. She left Ino with only the restriction and recommendations of the job. He, not speaking, hearing Miko and Sora's converse, she made that sound as she fell onto the blank stare. Steph widened her eyes in surprise at Sora's unexpected answer. Miko, on the other hand, smiled as she instinctively knew what was going on. So, that's what happened. After unveiling your slogan that a federation should be constructed, the true rulers went on leisurely stay in the Eastern Union and caused such a situation. Such a devious man you are. Miko stated this boldly, but Sora smiled all the same when replying. Professional issues should be handled by professionals. Politics is something Steph can handle with absolutely no problems. Adding on to the fact that you two were not present is even more of a blow. Yeah, because we were worried that the other countries might take the opportunity to interfere with the stately affairs. Ino and Steph were shocked back from their frozen states when they heard that statement. However, it was Shiro who continued the speech while she looked over the several documents. When Ni and Shiro are absent, no matter how you think of it, it's a trap. Then she continued speaking. Only an idiot would jump straight into such a trap. The crowd of idiots was comparing you against the game matches they usually have with Shiro and I. But Steph had continuously learned from her defeats, so they didn't have even a 10,000 to 1 chance of defeating her. That's why we could feel at ease when we focused our efforts on the Eastern Union. Steph and Ino were at the loss of her words. They stood stunned and speechless, but Sora's expression turned more serious than ever. But that's too many, right? Steph, why did you accept all those challenges? Hearing those words made Steph froze in that moment. In the other words, if that really was true, then why did I accept all those challenges? Contents of the game and the choice of whether to accept it were all decided by the party who was challenged. Why did I force myself to be so busy? Steph's eyes were so wide open while she questioned herself, but Sora continued with his next sentence. Steph, although I rely greatly on you, you don't have to push yourself too hard, and also, how do I put this? Sora was scratching his head, slightly embarrassed when he spoke. Thank you. The very line she wanted to hear. She had worked so desperately in her current state just for him to think that way. When her mind began to understand the meaning behind her falling tears, she felt her temperature rise. Her cheek flushed concurrently. No, no, it's because you guys are such an unfathomable mystery, so I'm just trying to deal with all the work as fast as I can. That's all there is to it. Steph spoke in stammers as Sora was moving closer to her. The rate of her heartbeat was increasing endlessly. Sora said, "Then, Steph, I'm sorry to trouble you when you are already so tired. As Miko-sama said, we have to advance to the capital of the Sirens." He? Huh. Okay. Then what? Steph avoided his line of sight. But Sora was glancing in a different direction. Over there was a black girl with an appearance of a great misfortune on a face she'd never seen before. The sirens and the Damphires are about to go extinct, so we are going to have to save them. Or rather, I'd say. Then he resumed his usual de-emphasized tone when speaking. We are going to get the resources and the territories, which are what we are fatally lacking to construct the Federation with the Eastern Union. Hearing Sora's declaration, Steph's eyes felt slightly hot. Indeed, sure enough, this man was thinking for the sake of all the Elchea. It was Shiro's turn to close into her. Steph, do you know how to sew? What? To put it simply, we want to go to the beach. Can you please make a swimsuit for everyone? We'll pass the design to you. In other words, more work. Okay guys, that's it for this chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's see you in the chapter number 2 of the volume 4 in the next video. See ya and take care.